Alright, what's up, y'all? It's Wooly here, and today we're finally going to talk about gadgets DPS. I do classify it as might, as you can see here. We got our might augment, and we're spec'd for might. And then, of course, if you have extra skill points, go ahead and put them into precision because we are going to be using brawling. So I guess you can say it's a hybrid build, so to speak. So if you play precision, uh, this is probably going to be a fun loadout for you if you just want to try something different. If you want to actually spec might but still incorporate precision in there, this is the way to do it so you're not just hitting Dervish and Vortex. Anyways, it has a lot of potential. I've been using it for a while now and got no complaints. So let's talk about it. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and put some parsers at the beginning of the video. And then I'll put some at the end of the video. But I did like a 3-minute parser video, just straight parsers of this, so you can check that one out. I'll try to link it in the description as well if I remember. But ultimately, this is just going to talk about the build. So we've taken a look at the augments, right? Of course, it's all might. Took a look at the stat points, all might. Um, there's not really a whole lot to say, so we'll cover the actual rotation on how to do it. Transformation card, Quizlet, and Strategist card. Okay, and then of course in the chest we're going to be running Penetrating Strikes. Um, this should actually be Taser Pool. I accidentally put this on when I was trying to build my troll. So this should be Taser Pool for when you spec into single target. And then, of course, Tumbling Master in the feet, max damage in the hands, escalating might in the neck, because most of your damage is still going to be coming from precision. You're going to be clipping in and out of everything, okay? And then, of course, we're going to be using Blast Adapter, adjust my headset here, and the hands with, of course, Brawling. So for that, you are going to need your Brawling filled out. We just need this one. We don't need this one. And then martial arts, of course. So you don't need to come down here, just stop here. And then, like I said, brawling. That's it as far as the tactical mods and the, what's up, buddy? This is my buddy, Berserker. I know him. See, he's on my friends list. Um, what was I saying? He threw me off. Okay, we talked about the tactical mods. We talked about the artifacts. Um, allies. Let's talk about the allies. So my secret sauce, what I'm running here. We're going to be running Crypto, of course, for our actual combat ally. Now here, we're going to be running Aquaman, and we're going to be using Supercharge support ability here. Using a Supercharge ability reduces combat allies cooldown relative to the Supercharge cost. And then we're going to be running the Shazam ally here, activating an ally's combat ability grants, a percentage of might and precision, which in this case benefits us heavily because we're running might and precision um, for 30 seconds. So very significant buff. Now, of course, if you want to run the Batman Who Laughs, you can. If you want to run static, you can. You run whatever you want here. This is just specifically what I am running here. Of course, static wasn't out when this build came about. Okay. And then, of course, on my other character where I do all my testing on Basby, I was running the Batman Who Laughs and just Cyborg because I didn't have nothing else to put there. So if I had static, I would have put static there, right? So anyways, um, he's just clapping at me. All right, so anyways, that's it. That's the secret sauce, is the allies and, of course, the artifacts. Now, as far as how you're going to actually perform the loadout, because that's what we really need to know. So take a look at it. We're going to be running Cryofoam, Suppressor Turret, Fear Gas, Napalm Grenade, Stealth, Robot Sidekick. Inside of stealth, we're going to be running battle display, tornado pool, return to normal, paralyzing dart, and robot sidekick. So you do have to have robot sidekick in both stealth and your main loadout in order to keep it active, and it has to be the exact same. It can't be the exo in the DPS and then the regular in this one. It'll pop, it'll go away, right? So you got to have the same exact one. Now, of course, you don't need tornado pool specifically. So if you are flight, if you're acrobatics, any other movement than super speed, it doesn't matter. You can run this build. All you would do is just take out tornado pool, and for that you would just run battle display, and then you would run return to normal and paralyzing dart. So you don't have to be super speed for this build. I just want to be clear about that, right? Gadgets is the one power. You don't have to be any kind of movement in order to play precision on it, or to play might on it and clip out of everything. So that's the unique thing about gadgets, is you can clip almost anything in here. So how this actual rotation will run, and it'll take you a little bit of time to get used to. Even if you're used to precision, this might take you a few minutes to adjust. So essentially, I always like to start out with brawling, right? And then when I go into brawling, I'll hit cryofoam, and then I will immediately clip it with suppressor turret. So we want to do brawling, right? And we want to clip it with suppressor turret, okay? After that, you're going to follow up with a slight jump, and then you're going to hit fear gas. And when you hit fear gas, that's going to jump cancel it, like so. Okay. Now, when you first get started, you're probably going to be jumping way up here when you do your fear gas. But as you get used to it, you'll be able to nail it a little bit quicker, right? So if you're going to do this build, what I recommend is not trying to do the whole rotation right off the bat. I recommend doing the first three, right? I want you to practice cryofoam, canceling it with, or clipping it with suppressor turret, and then jump canceling with fear gas. So that's what I want you to focus on. If you're just new to clipping in general, or just trying to get this rotation down, just try your best to get the first part down, because after that, it's not too difficult. Personally, I feel like the stealth aspect of it is fairly easy to clip, because you're basically just going to be holding down L2, and you're going to hit square, triangle, circle, X all at once. So again, after you get that down, you'll get better at jump canceling fear gas. That's really what it comes down to. Essentially, you just got to get that down. Once you get that down, you've pretty much got it down, okay? So after that, we're going to hit with napalm grenade, right? And then we're going to clip it with stealth. Now, once you come into stealth, you're going to hit your battle display, and then you're immediately going to follow it up with tornado pool, return to normal, and paralyzing dart all at once. Okay, so once you get the hang of it, it's going to be hitting all of those powers and knock you out of it. So we are going to be running battle display in this case for the weapon buff, because we are going to be running brawling on here, so we do get a benefit from it. And of course, if you have somebody buff trolling in the group, you're going to get an even bigger benefit of it, okay? So while our main goal is to not be running precision specifically, we are going to be getting a fair amount of damage from precision, and then we're going to be running just full might, like I said. So as far as the rotation, you'll open up with brawling. You go to cryofoam, clip it with suppressor turret, jump cancel fear gas. Then you're going to do brawling one more time, and come into napalm, clip it with stealth. Okay. And then you're going to repeat, rinse and repeat. Now, obviously, let's say when you come around, stealth is not going to be ready. That's fine. Just do the rotation as normal without stealth. So you'll do a round of brawling, a round of brawling, hit your napalm grenade, and then start over. And that's what it's going to look like. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. You just have to practice, and spending a couple hours here or a whole day just messing around at the sparring targets, jumping into some content, you'll get the hang of it. My advice, if you're just new to it altogether, mess with it a little bit at the sparring target, get that first part of the combo down, and then go run out in the open worlds and kill some ads out in Dakota City or Infernal Conduct or something. That'll get you a real good feel for the brawling, because ultimately it just comes down to your timing. You have to time your brawling just like regular precision. If you hit your brawling too soon, like if you try to come out of your brawling too soon, you're not going to get the full benefit of brawling, and so you won't be able to see the full damage come off of it. And this is why I say practice on live targets, ads out in the open world, because you can actually see if it's truly connecting or not. Um, but this is not that difficult. The only downside is that it is heavy on power consumption. So ultimately, you are going to need a stack of sodas. You're probably going to need Philosopher's Stone. Uh, it's not necessary, it helps. But ultimately, you are going to need to carry sodas with you, and just hope that you get a good troll in the group, or a troll, period, right? Okay. Um, So this is still pretty viable for most situations. Now I've done MTCE and stuff like that without a troll. I did have to down a lot of sodas, but getting through those hallways is fairly quick. So by the time I actually ran out of power, um, we were done with the ads. Now if you run into a situation where you are running this build and you're just about out of power, that's okay. You can just sit here and spam napalm grenade, because that does add up. I mean, sitting here spamming napalm grenade and jump canceling fear gas, you can still hit 2.6, 2.7 at the sparring targets, as long as your artifacts are leveled up. Now the whole thing with this build is it does get some pretty crazy numbers. It does really tend to get up there. It kind of fluctuates all over the place. I've hit 4 mil with it. I've hit 4.1 mil with it, but that's not the standard. I'm not going to tell you that's what you're going to hit. That's few and far between. That was me sitting here for like 10 minutes straight hitting parsers, and just really getting into the groove. So that's not something that's going to happen, you know, normally in a raid setting, right? There's so many things going on. You're going to get, you know, AoEs coming at you. You got to avoid, get interrupted, things like that. So realistically, you're probably going to sit around anywhere from, the low to high 3 mils. So I have hit, like I said, 4 a couple of times, but I've hit 8, or sorry, 3.8 pretty regularly, 3.5, 3.6, 3.7. So these are pretty close to prec numbers. Just specking might. Now I have tried this build stretch prec, spec straight prec, and it's just awful on power. So it's even far worse. So it's best to run it as might, um, and just do your best, right? So that's pretty much it as far as the AoE. Now for the single target, it's pretty much the same. So all you're gonna do is spam taser pull. This is probably the best single target in the game. I'm not gonna make that claim lightly. Gadgets single target is probably the best single target in the game. Um, Essentially, I don't really use a lot of brawling when it comes to single target here unless I'm in a situation, um, like NUE on, or not NUE, ROE with, Faust, where the ads have phases where they come in and out, and you're going to be stuck on cooldown in an armory if you switch to AoE, and you'll lose boss damage as opposed to just staying single target. So in those cases, I would keep your brawling on. You'll still want to spec for it, but ultimately, you're going to be focusing heavily on just taser pull. So what happens is you're going to, I always start with the blast adapter. So you start with your blast adapter, you're going to hit taser pull, and just like before, we're going to cancel it with turret, and then jump cancel fear gas. Okay, and then we're going to focus on our stealth. And here, I just haven't put the battle display in it, but it'll be the same thing. You don't have to put battle display in there because we're not really using it. So this is why I'm just using paralyzing dart, return to normal, and Gauss grenade. Okay, and then of course we have our finisher, and then the allies remain the same. So ultimately, and that's it. So essentially, you want to taser pull, cancel with turret, fear gas, go into your finisher, you'll come out of it, taser pull, and then everything should be off cooldown again and ready to go. As long as you don't mess up like I did right there, you'll be hitting pretty solid numbers. It gets pretty nasty when you get going. It gets consistently around 1.65, but it can go up to 1.8, 1.9 when you're really on point. So ultimately, these builds really come down to your timing and just consistently just staying on par. Stay just hitting as consistent as possible. The good thing is though that they hit so hard that when you do mess up, you're still going to be hitting hard. So like if I'm doing the AoE build and I'm consistently hitting in the 3 mil range, the mid 3 mil range, if I mess up, I'm still going to be hitting 2.7, 2.8, which is still pretty good, and all things considered, right? So it's a pretty fun build, but the single target is not as bad as the AoE on power, but it's still pretty bad. So in those situations, you can get away with opting out of using the turret. In those situations, you'll simply just spam taser pull, jump cancel, fear gas, and use your finisher. And then just spam taser pull until your finisher is ready again. And that's it. And you'll still hit solid numbers. You'll still hit 1.5, 1.6. Okay? And that's pretty much it as far as the single target. I do have one last build that I use, and this is for just a more casual approach when I'm just running, omnibus, or doing like a heavy or long spam session, USR or something. Or even if I'm just doing like duos where I'm out in the world, because I don't always want to run that heavy AoE build. That can get pretty tiring pretty quick. And when I just don't want to be a sweat, I'll take it easy and I'll do a heat vision build. So for this one, it's pretty straightforward. We're not going to be clipping out of anything. We're simply going to be running the turret here. Okay, so this build is just heat vision, paralyzing dart, fear gas. No need to jump cancel this. You want it to stay all in rotation. And then photon blast. And of course, like I said, suppressor turret. And our supercharger choice is going to be Neo Venom. Okay, so that's it. It's pretty straightforward. We get to actually use our turret in this case because we are not clipping out of anything. So and that's it. That's the rotation. Very straightforward. No jump canceling of any kind. Okay. Now it does work enough for AoE. Obviously, you're not going to be out here smashing munitions or anything with this heat vision build. But if you just want something that's good enough, this will get the job done, right? And you can still keep your brawling in if you just want to take it easy and relax, and still hit AoE, but heavily focused with single target. This will get the job done. And then, of course, we're still running the same allies, but if you want to switch it up, run Batman's Laughs, Static, whatever, put whatever you want here, okay? The only difference is we're not running Quizlet. We're going to be running Solar Amplifier, of course, but nothing else changes as far as the tactical mods. Now, if you have, here's the thing. If you want to do art swapping, this whole gadget build is not for you. It's incredibly hard to try to swap artifacts with a build like this where you're just clipping all over the place. But if you do want to swap artifacts, then this heat vision build is the way to go. Okay. It's easy enough. It has the solar amplifier and the finisher that you have those 2 seconds, ultimately 4 seconds within your rotation, that you have time to go in, swap an artifact, and then come out and still be running. So this is the build if you want to actually swap artifacts. This is what you would use. It's very straightforward. It's easy. There's not much else to say about it. So that's what I got for you today, guys. I just wanted to actually drop the Gaddis DPS video. It'll probably be my last loadout video for a while as we gravitate more towards guides. But I know I did the parsers and I wanted to actually show you guys how to do it. So this video specifically is not necessarily about the parsers, which is why as I'm talking I'm not going into them. I'll show some parsers that I've captured using these builds here. Like I said, before and after, so you've probably already seen it if this is uploaded. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. So this is what I got for you today. Hope this was helpful and informative. Like I said, if you choose to run these builds, just know they are just nasty on your power bar. They're going to hurt you. They're going to hurt your power. So get used to that. But there are ways around it, and no sideboard does not help. I promise you. So it's a waste of your ally space to put him in. Don't do it. But I've given you 3 builds. One that you can use, which is the heat vision one, in case you are just simply out of the option to run it. But obviously, if you have higher skill points, higher artifacts, you're going to have a slightly easier time running this build. Okay, so even if you have low skill points, you can still do these builds. That's not really the reason that you're going to lose power, but you are going to lose power a lot quicker than somebody who has 300, 400, 500 skill points. Okay, so just be mindful of that. Otherwise, enjoy, and I hope this is helpful to somebody, and I hope you get some enjoyment out of it. I know I am. I'm loving it. Anyways, that's all I got for you today, guys. If you're new to the channel, consider sticking around. Otherwise, I'll catch you next time. We'll be out. Stay frosty.